Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, we got another absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. This young lady was on the show maybe about a couple of weeks ago. And I tell you, you in for a lot of lessons learned. And also you in for a lot of opportunity to learn a whole lot of things. And, one of the things that I like what she's going to talk about is societal. I mean, the things that are around us, typically what shapes us. And we have to make sure that we're in the right environment and in the right area. So we have a choice. We can push away, get away in most cases, but we're going to learn a little bit about that as transformation and growing and learning, etc. So I'm looking forward to the show today, but I cannot start the show without the executive producer and co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And, I had a chance to talk to this guest. It's like she was on our show previously, and just to have a little conversation with her, pre this show. And I'm just so excited about the amazing things she's going to talk about. I mean, gosh, we could have talked for hours about this particular topic, but we're going to give her the floor and let her explain. And audience, please, whatever streaming platform you are on, please provide your comments, ask questions. This is amazing guest. And again, we're just excited to have her on. And I see Rachael McGlaston. She's already starting with the comments. She said she's a big fan. So, okay.
Hey, Michelle, can you please introduce the title of the show, purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely magnificent guest of ours?
Oh, most definitely. So the title of today's show is Alchemy of Self, Societal Transformation and Feminine Awakening. So we're having a conversation with Dr. Rachael McGlaston. She's an entrepreneur and college professor, and she's going to talk about the societal mirror, reflecting personal transformation, mindful femininity, decoding social constructs for personal empowerment, energetic resonance. Understanding societal energies and harmonizing duality, a socio-intuitive approach to personal fulfillment. As an advocate for education and self-transformation, Dr. McGlaston holds a master's degree in sociology from CSU, San Marcos, and a doctorate from UCSD, where her research delved into transformational leadership, femininity, and race. Her work has specifically explored how individuals forge communities in both virtual and physical realms, the concept of emotional labor, and the utilization of feminine principles in the leadership realm, particularly among C-suite female executives. Currently, Dr. McGlaston wears multiple hats as an entrepreneur and owner of two businesses, The Unwind Experience and Womanize. Simultaneously, she serves as a college professor and embraces the role of homemaker, nurturing her two children, ages 3 and 5, and supporting her husband. So we can talk a little bit more about her, but I'm going to give her the floor. Please welcome back to the show, Dr. Rachael McGlaston.
Thank you so much. What a kind introduction. It's so nice to see a couple of people who I'm also a major fan of course, Rachael McGlaston, Dr. Kim Nunez. Hello, hello. Thank you for having me back. I'm happy to be here.
It's always a pleasure. I mean, just meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and just getting an opportunity to know you and having you on the show. I saw a whole lot that our audience and our viewers could learn from you, because you're doing so many things and wearing so many different hats. And I tell you, and just the energy that you bring. I mean, just by being around you, you can just feel that positive energy. And so I think that we need to surround ourselves with people that has positive energy, and kind of push away from others that might not have positive energy to bring you down. So
Absolutely.
if you could tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what made you click, I mean, and what prepared you into doing what you're doing today.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, thank you again for inviting me back on the show. I'm so happy to be here today. So a little bit more about my background. So as Dr. Michelle mentioned, my name is Dr. Rachael McGlaston. I am a mom of two still fairly young children. I have a 3-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. We live in Temecula, California. I own a couple of businesses. One I own with my husband. It's called the Unwind Experience, where we provide wine tours to local members of the Temecula community. And then Womanize is my business. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about Womanize kind of as the show progresses, because that's really what we're talking about today is what Womanize really focuses on. I grew up in Santee, California. So I was born in Northern California, moved down to Southern California when I was still pretty little with just my mom. And I was raised as an only child. And when I was 17, I met all of my siblings on my dad's side for the first time, and that was amazing. And now one of the people that is a huge supporter of mine, Miss Rachael McGlaston, that's my little sister. So she and I have grown really, really close over the years. But so growing up in Santee, I think it's important for me to touch on this a little bit, because it really, as is the case for all of our hometowns, it really kind of set me up for who I became and who I continue to become. So growing up in Santee, for those of you that are not familiar with that area, so Santee is in East County of San Diego, and it historically was a very, very white town. And so you can probably tell I'm not a white person. I am mixed race, but I was raised, as I mentioned, by my mom, who is white. And it was just the two of us growing up in that area. So my grandma also had a really heavy influence on my life. I spent most of my, after school time at my grandma's house. But growing up as this kind of racially ambiguous girl in a very, very white town that has some pretty deep roots in just, kind of old time racism. It was a really interesting space and place to grow up looking like this, and also being raised by a white woman, because all of the experiences that I had that were related to race and people kind of trying to figure me out and me trying to figure myself out, she couldn't really relate to it. But I feel like that ended up having a huge positive effect, because what that ended up doing for me was it made me a really curious person, because I was kind of put in the middle of this space where it was like, well, all of these people on this side are asking me a lot of questions about what are you, are you adopted? Is that really your mom? Those types of questions. And then when I would be at home, my mom was always kind of like what we would now consider to be a colorblind racist, which is not a term that I prefer to use, but it was that idea that, she was always on this other end saying, don't worry about what people are asking you. You just be Rachael, and focus on that. And so it was this constant juxtaposition of like, okay, well, my mom is telling me to just be me, which is this, quirky, people loving, bookworm. And then on this other side, it was always, this inundation of questions. So it was the perfect breeding ground for me to just kind of become this introspective, reflective, people loving, people curious person that I am today. So that's a bit about my background.
What did you have any major role models growing up that shape you? I'm talking about your thought and your mindset, and said, "That's I want to emulate some of this or that."
Yeah,
that shape your mindset.
Definitely. And so when I was on your show a week or two ago, that was the focus of our conversation, was talking about how important role models are. And so I think even where I'm at right now in my life, I'm always looking for new role models. But growing up, I definitely had role models all around me. Of course, my mom and my grandma are and were two of my biggest influences. I think a lot of my interest in people comes from my grandma. So my grandma was an immigrant to this country. She moved to the United States from Germany when she was close to 30, didn't speak any English, and, kind of just figured out living here, figured out raising her 5 kids, all while learning the language. And so she was the type of person that would strike up a conversation with, the person standing behind her in the grocery store. And so a lot of kind of seeing how she navigated the world and seeing how open she was to people and how receptive that made other people to her kind of energy had a big influence on me. And then my mom, just being a really strong and independent, goal-oriented woman was another big influence on me. And then, of course, I was blessed to have a lot of really, really amazing teachers throughout my entire life that I kind of always got to have in my corner to look up to and to ask questions to. And I mentioned I'm a big bookworm. So I remember when I was a kid, I would sometimes consider like these fictional characters kind of my role models, like if there was a character in a book that was doing something cool, I was kind of like, I want to do that. So they served that role as well, I suppose.
Wow. I can't wait. We're going to take a station break right now, but I can't wait to get back after the break so we can go off in this topic, so we can go off into getting an opportunity to continue to learn or Rachel, and also give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. So if you want to be part of the conversation, regardless of which platform you're watching us on, whether it's E360 television, Roku TV, and over 55 live streaming platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. All you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are. The one that keeps us close when we're apart. Walking from the darkness of all that we've been through. It seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of
really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and Dr. Rachael here. I mean, I'm telling you, she bring it. I really enjoyed the first segment. Just learned a whole lot more about Dr. Rachael. And I tell you, we're getting ready to dive into the topic of today's show. And we also going to sit back, and I'm going to sit back and learn a lot. And I know that you will as well. As I mentioned right before we were going to the break, if you want to be part of the conversation, whichever platform you're watching this on, just go to ask any questions. I promise you we'll get you an answer. You know, so Michelle, I want you to start this segment out, you know, with Dr. Rachael.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, Dr. Rachael, the title of the show is Alchemy of Self, Societal Transformation and Feminine Awakening. What does this really mean? And why did you want to discuss this?
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit kind of in the pre-show that on the surface, I do feel like these words kind of seem confusing and maybe a little bit woo-woo to some people. But really, when you break it down, so alchemy of self, alchemy as a concept really just means to take something and transmute it into something else. So this idea of kind of self-transformation is really what alchemy of self refers to. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about how kind of energy plays into this whole idea of alchemy of the self and transmuting old energies, stagnant energies, energies that no longer serve you to become the best version of yourself. And then that second part, societal transformation and feminine awakening, there have been so many different teachers from so many different lineages that talk about, if you want to see change in the world, if you want to see change in your community, it starts with yourself, which I think is why this idea of alchemy of self is so important to me. And then that last part, the feminine awakening, I can't wait for us to do a little bit of a deeper dive into that section in particular. But one of the things that I think I feel really called to in my life is helping women recognize their full potential. And I don't mean that in our kind of traditional, very structured, goal-oriented way. So this feminine awakening is really this idea of who are you, women and men, because this kind of goes back to this energy piece. But for people that embody a feminine energy, who are you when you strip away all of the layers of programming that society has kind of put onto you? Mm-hmm. So that's, a lot of words to describe what that title is all about to me.
Well, who are you? Like you said, when you peel off the layers. So it's amazing, when people introduce themselves, and they introduce their name, but, they introduce what they do.
Yes.
But I didn't ask you, and I didn't ask the person what you did for a living, but they feel the need to kind of say, this is who I am. I'm a dentist, I'm a writer, I'm an actor, an actress.
Yeah.
And that's all in good, but pulling away the layers, who are you really and truly? So let's kind of discuss societal mirror, reflecting personal transformation. Can you kind of go into that?
Yeah. So I mentioned in the last segment, or the last show that I was in with you all, my background is in sociology. So my academic kind of formal training in research is in sociological research. So a lot of my work today pulls from different sociological theories and concepts to kind of help frame all of this work. So this idea of the societal mirror really comes from a concept from a sociologist that's called the looking glass self. And so this idea is basically that we as social beings, we have this tendency to understand ourselves through kind of the perception of ourselves through others. So the easiest way to kind of conceptualize this is think about how you present yourself when you're around your parents versus your closest girlfriend versus your husband versus your children versus somebody who you might have a negative history with. The reason why your behavior changes in all of those interactions is because you as a social creature, you have this kind of double awareness of who this person that you're engaging with thinks you are. And therefore, the way that you show up in that interaction is a reflection, not necessarily of who you actually are, but who you think that person thinks you are. So that's this idea of the societal lens. And then you can kind of imagine if you take that one step further and start thinking about things like stereotypes. If you are a person, really any person, because stereotypes are things that we generalize about certain groups of people, right? So no group of persons is immune to having stereotypes kind of put upon them. But where that gets tricky is when you think of this concept of the looking glass self, how often are you kind of internalizing stereotypes about yourself based on what society thinks to be true about yourself based on that group that you fall into? So I hope that explanation didn't get too in the weeds for you.
No, that's definitely interesting. I do believe, we do present a different version of ourselves to different people because we're not truly, I'm not saying all, some are not truly being who they are. They're trying to, basically they're playing a role.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're playing a role. But is that truly who you are? Mm-hmm. So the role playing can be embedded in you from childhood, from parents, grandparents, or teachers, your culture of how you should behave in this environment, in this environment, in this environment. Don't show who you truly are. But then it might get to the point as a woman, I'm talking as a female, that you so focus on what society, how you want society to see who you are, see who they think you are, that you kind of lose touch of who you really are. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for a lot of us, it's not even that we lose touch with who we really are, but we lack the awareness of knowing ourselves, period. Like not so much of forgetting, but a never having been introduced to your real self. Because from the time that you're born, one of the things that I like to do with my students, especially when we're kind of thinking through these concepts, is, so if I were to ask you to describe, pick any one of your roles in life. For me, I always start with, let's think about my role as a mother, right?
Okay.
Somebody asked me, okay, Rachel, describe what it means to be a good mother. And I start to list all of these descriptions. I think a good mom is somebody who is caring and nurturing and loving and responsible and makes good food. And the list can go on and on and on, right? Mm-hmm. So now the next question is, okay, so let's take this idea of makes good food. Where did that idea for you come from? And you can do that with every single one of the traits that you list off about how you're defining what it means to be a good mother, a good wife, a good employee, whatever the role is. And what you realize at the end of this exercise is that pretty much every single trait that you describe is not something that just came from within you. It's something that you learned from somebody along the way, or it's something that you learned by your culture's definition of what it means to be a good mother. Think about the difference, just kind of generally speaking, of how women tend to parent just from different cultural groups. right?
Mhm.
Think about these ideas of how Black moms mother versus how white moms mother versus how Asian moms mother. They're very different based on those ethnic groups, or they can be pretty different based on those ethnic groups.
Mhm.
So going back to this idea of like, how are you supposed to know who you really are if from the time that you were born, every single thing that you believe to be true about yourself didn't come from your relationship with the party of one, but it came from everybody else around you. So when I think about, how are we supposed to get ourselves on track with becoming the best versions of ourselves, I think it really does have to start with square one, which is, who am I really?
Yes, yes. And just it was interesting, and we're coming up to the break in a couple of minutes, but it's interesting, like culturally, like I'm an African American woman, and you see a lot of African American women with braids, box braids, whatever braids, right? Protected hairstyle. Long time ago in the corporate world, it wasn't said. But a lot of women didn't wear that African American because they want to fit in to the societal norms of corporate America. No one told them not to wear braids,
Right.
but there were maybe a conversation or a mirror in their head saying, oh, if I wear this, they're going to think it's too quote unquote ethnic.
Right.
It's
unprofessional.
It's unprofessional.
Right.
So they didn't have to say it, but we might have allowed ourselves to stop truly being, who we are truly, because we wanted to fit in and we're afraid of certain, comments or feedbacks from others. So I see that. Yeah. Yeah. But, it's interesting. Dr. James Cooley. Hi. So I think we're coming up on the break now. Dr. Rachel, we're talking about, societal mirror, being a certain way based on what you think society wants you to be.
I'm just sitting back listening to the conversation. It's intriguing because a lot of people, that's how they formulate their opinion of themselves and their worth based on what others want them to be. Mm-hmm. I believe that we have to sometimes, I just know how I am. I can't just focus myself around what other people think, because the ultimate decision that we make, regardless of our environment or the things, actually come down to us. We have to live with that. Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Rich, we got 2 minutes before the break. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what I started thinking about when you were talking just now is how important it is to surround yourself with people that, the way that I say it is, surround yourself with people that magnetize out of you the best version of yourself. And that can be really hard to do when you find yourself in situations repeatedly with the same groups of people. And, we kind of touched on this with the conversation about role models as well. You are who you surround yourself with. And so if you are finding it hard to find people to put around you that are doing things that motivate you and that make you have that energy of excitement and self-improvement and curiosity, what are you supposed to do, right? Especially when a lot of times culture will tell you, you don't turn your back on the people that raised you, whether we're talking about friends, family, your community, whatever. But people, I think, find themselves at a crossroads sometime. And I think we'll probably move into that. I don't want to overstep your commercial break. So I think that'll probably be coming up in our conversation.
And looking forward to it. And I'll tell you what, this is so exciting because, I think what you're talking about need to be heard and need to be understood. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take a station break. But if you want to join the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on. Or you can pick up the phone, dial 1-888-344-1178. That's the KCB crew, AM 1170, the answer, FM 96.1. out of San Diego. And I tell you what, Dr. Rachel will get you an answer. Yes, your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, oh, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and Dr. Rachel. It's incredible. And I would just sit back during the last segment, just listening to these two young ladies just talk about a lot of things, just reflecting on social environment transformation, and just thinking about some of the things that as we grow, as we mature, some of the things that hold us back is trying to be like what other people want us to be, not what we want to be. I think you can grow if you are locked in on what everybody is thinking about you. I mean, if you're locked in on what everybody is thinking about you, you are only going to be concerned about, oh, they see me as this, so I had to act like this. They're going to see me as I had to do those things. Hey, Dr. Rich, I know people like that. And so, wait, that's how they see me. That's how they want me to do.
Yeah.
This is not acting. This is real life.
I know what you're talking about.
You know, this is real life. I mean, you can't be acting it out.
But you know what? It must be really, all jokes aside, it must be really torment. Just live a life of torment, of living your life being what you feel other people want you to be. You're not truly being yourself. It's like you're always wondering how you should appear and everything. That's really, to me, that's very, really tormental. That's torment. Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that I'm the most worried about for younger people today, because I feel like people living their lives on on social media or living their lives for social media puts them in that exact circumstance every single day. Like, you are living your life with this consciousness of other people are watching me, so I need to be who they think I am. And you're always just performing, instead of actually figuring out who you are.
Exactly. So, Dr. Rachael, let's talk about mindful femininity, decoding social constraints for personal empowerment. Can you kind of go into a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to break this down a little bit, starting with talking a little bit about mindfulness, because I feel like for me, that has been probably the cornerstone of my personal transformation, especially over the last 7 to 8 years. So mindfulness can be described in a lot of different ways. The way that I like to think about mindfulness and talk about mindfulness is really more so from the meditation perspective. So mindfulness can sometimes just kind of allude to general awareness, kind of in the present moment. But I like to really focus on having a regular meditation practice. And the reason for this is I feel like when you start to have a regular meditation practice and you start to notice the patterns of thoughts that you are thinking. And, sometimes people get a little bit turned off with the idea of meditation because they sit down and try and meditate and they realize that their mind won't turn off. And for some reason, society has tricked us into thinking that meditation means that you sit down and you close your eyes and your mind is supposed to just magically go blank, right? Mm-hmm. That is not how that works. So, when you think about all the different functions of the different parts of your body, your heart is going to continue beating no matter what you do. Your lungs are going to continue breathing and cycling air through your body no matter what you do. Your brain works in that exact same way. Your brain, the function of your brain is to think thoughts. So to think that you're supposed to sit down and it's just magically going to turn off is akin to thinking that you're going to sit down and stop yourself from breathing or stop your heart from beating. Your brain's job is to think. So when you sit down and start a meditation practice, don't think of it in this sense of like, I'm supposed to be clearing my brain. No, what you're supposed to be doing is realizing that your thoughts are happening, but there's this other thing, your consciousness, that is observing or is able to observe those thoughts. So once you get in that little gap right there, you start to realize, oh, I am not the thoughts that I'm thinking. And then you start to realize after that, well, these thoughts that I'm thinking directly reflect the life that I'm living. And then once you start to, learn a little bit about kind of the mind-body connection, the mind and physical connection, you start to realize the thoughts that I'm thinking have a direct impact on the life that I'm living. So if that holds true, I need to start changing my thoughts so that they match the life that I want to have. Because what you realize in meditation is your brain is on this almost continuous of thinking the same things day in and day out. And then you act on those same thoughts day in and day out. And then your life today looks the same that it did 2 months ago because you're always thinking and doing the same things. So when I think about mindful femininity, it's this idea of when I sit down to meditate, I like to feel how I'm feeling in that moment. And one of the things that I personally have been trying to focus on and to work on a lot is kind of turning up the dial on my own feminine energy. And so when I say feminine energy, I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, we're getting kind of woo-woo here. But really what that idea is all about is, go back to when we were thinking about how do you define what it means to be a good mother, right? So think about for yourself, what does it feel like to be a fully feminine person? And then you start to realize, oh, my brain is like, make everything pink. Well, is that really what it means to embody like that feeling of femininity? No. That's something that society has said. If it's pink, it's for girls and for women. If it's blue, it's for boys and for men. So let's go another step further. So what does it actually feel like to be a fully feminine woman? So for me, that looks and feels like being a lot more open and receptive rather than trying to be super rigid and goal-oriented. It means being a little bit playful and being a little bit wild and creative and allowing myself to do that. I think over the last several years, that has probably been the biggest change for me, because being raised by a single mother, the way that I learned what femininity looked like was from a much more masculine perspective, because as a single mother, my mom had to do a lot of things that embodied a much more masculine energy. So for me, my version of femininity for my entire life looked and felt a lot more masculine. And so how that shows up in my relationships, you know, a lot of times I would want to be the person that's like making the decisions, that is making the plans, that is setting the goals, that is then moving forward and accomplishing those goals, instead of ever being willing to like slow down and take a, not so much a backseat, but a passenger seat and enjoy the ride and make it fun and feel good for everybody else. And so my feminine awakening, kind of connecting this back to, you know, mindfulness and meditation, get myself in that space to be able to realize how masculine my energy felt, helped me realize what I actually wanted to feel like. And so that's what I've been working on. That's what I'm hoping to help other women kind of recognize and wake up to and feel. Are you feeling how you want to feel as a woman?
And you know what's interesting? You mentioned about feel what you feel. And that means, you know, it could be so many different emotions, crying. It can mean be angry, offended, but you have to be honest with yourself, you know, about you.
Right.
Because people are always going to comment on you, whether it's family, friends, you know, work, they're always going to make comments about you, what you should do, or just how they see you.
Right.
You got to get to the point, and this is my opinion, you have to get to a point where, because we're so busy as women, we're so busy as people, as women, we're wives, we're mothers, we're entrepreneurs, you know, there's not enough time in the day to do what we want to do.
Absolutely.
And, you know, yes, it's nice for some me time, decompressing time, but you have to get into a groove where daily you find that time to truly be by yourself. And you're right, not just go hum, you know, whatever you want to do. But honestly,
this conversation break. We got to take a station break. And I'm laughing about the me time, because Rachel, when Michelle needs some me time, she's like, "Are you heading back to California next week?" You know, I mean, then I know it's you know, so.
She's like, speaking of a commercial break, when are you going back to California so I can have a commercial break? Right?
I'm heading back to California probably sometime this month, probably next couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's March already.
I know.
We got a couple of things. I just got invited to speak in Canada and other places, so I got to go in and work those out, and you know, so it's a lot of things.
Give the people what they want, Dr. James.
You know, I can only be me, you know, but I tell you what, this is an absolutely fantastic conversation. We're going to come back and we're going to pick it up, because we're going to talk to Rachel a lot more. It's your life and you want to be part, all you have to do is go to the platform, ask any question that you have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life. I see you shortly after the break.
What if that road that you're taking's a dead end? What if love leaves you all jaded and broken? What if that limb breaks you're climbing out on? Yeah, what if it all goes wrong? But what if it all goes right? What if it all works out? What if the stars line up and good luck rains down? What if you chase your dream and it changes your whole life? Yeah, what if it all goes right? What if that road is a beautiful slow drive? What if that love ends up lasting a lifetime? What if that limb holds you oak tree strong? What if this time nothing goes wrong? What if it all goes right? What if it all works out? What if the stars line up and good luck rains down? What if you chase your dream and it changes your whole life? Yeah, what if it all goes right? What if you jump on a trampoline and touch the sky?
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Welcome back to James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And, I truly enjoy shows like this where I can sit back and just listen to the conversation and take it all in. And, let Michelle kind of lead. She is a co-host. She's kind of lead. She don't do it that much, but she does. And especially when you got an absolutely fantastic guest on that's sharing all her wisdom and knowledge. And she's a young lady. And, to develop that much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that she can pass it as a young lady and pass all of these jewels down to others, they better pull it in. They better take it. They better learn from it. And so that's what we're enjoying today. And Rachel, I'm loving this. I'm sure our viewers are loving it as well. I see we got a Dr. Pierce, we got a lot of folks tuning in right now and just enjoying this conversation. I just want to keep it going. So I'm gonna pass it back over to Michelle. You got it, Michelle.
Good, right. And we also have a thumbs up from Ahmed Magdi. And so let's talk about energetic resonance, understanding societal energies. Can you talk a little bit about that, Rachel?
Absolutely. So first I was back here like vibing out to that What If It All Goes Right song, just as a random little side note. I was like, yeah, what if it all goes right? Let's start there. And my second little random side note, I meant to mention this when I was talking about that sociological theory of the looking glass self. Just an interesting coincidence is that the sociologist that came up with that concept, his name was Charles Cooley. same last name, same spelling as you all. So just a little fun fact there. Another Cooley on the map. But anyways, so energetic resonance. Energetic resonance is basically this idea that energy. So I like to think of this, you know how if you go into a room and there was just something not positive that happened, maybe there was an argument, a fight, something just negative. If you go into that room after that happened recently, you can kind of feel something is off. If you look around at people and you can just feel it. Nobody has to say anything. You can just feel it. And the same thing is true if people just got done with gut busting laughter. Like there's just this totally, even me saying that, right? Like you can feel how those energies feel really different. So energetic resonance is this idea that you want to find energies that resonate with you. You want to find energies, and let me clarify, you want to find energies that resonate with the highest version of yourself. Because just how you could just feel what the energies feel like in a room where something bad happened or a room where something good happened, your body, your own personal energy is always going to resonate with whatever energy is around you. So, you know, I think about, like when you go, I love this concept of collective effervescence. So think about the last time that you went to a really great concert and everybody that was there almost seemed to be under like a spell. There's kind of this like group hypnosis going on. That's another example of this energetic resonance. So we match each other's energies. So when you think about, you know, you are who you surround yourself with, that kind of goes hand in hand, right? If you're surrounding yourself with people that are always in a negative state of mind, that always have, you know, just kind of bad things happening where they're choosing to maybe do not so great things, your own energy is going to resonate with that. Same thing happens in the reverse. So if you're surrounding yourself with people that are genuinely positive. So not this toxic positivity, but genuine positivity that comes from, you know, this kind of knowing thyself, this idea of always seeking to help others, that type of positive energy. Your energy is going to resonate with that. So it's really important to find places and spaces that pull that energetic resonance from you.
You know, I understand what you're saying because, you know, have you ever been around someone who can tell despite they may smile at you that they don't care for you? Like,
absolutely.
It's like, or we had this guest on our show a while ago. She said that every time she spoke to this particular person, when she would get off the phone or just get away, she'd feel bad about herself. So it's like, you're right. I know people go through things.
Yeah.
I really understand that. Everyone can't be happy or joyful 24/7.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about situations where you want to put yourself where, you know, they're cheering for you. You're cheering for each other as a group. And you don't want to put yourself in situations where you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I've got to leave this conversation because I can't take this person. And they may not know they're doing it. Maybe that's just, you know, who they are or whatever. But I totally understand what you're saying. And, you know, we've got a couple of minutes before the show. Can you kind of go over harmonizing duality and what that is?
Yeah. So it ties right in with what we're talking about right now. This idea of dualities and polarities kind of in the same vein. We have to recognize that each of us has both sides within us, right? Good and bad are two sides of the same coin. Happy and sad, two sides of the same coin. And so this concept, this idea of harmonizing those dualities within yourself, we have to realize that it's not always going to be sunshine and roses. And that's okay, because what that means is when you allow those parts of yourself to be, and you welcome those parts of yourself with open arms, not only is it going to transmute that energy, so going back to this idea of alchemy, if you resist energies, they will persist. That what you resist will persist. And a lot of times it persists in a way where, you know, your body starts kind of attacking itself, whether that means you're getting sick all the time or you just don't feel very well. Even mental health issues, depression, anxiety, general stress. A lot of times that comes from not allowing yourself to transmute these energies. Dr. Michelle, a minute ago, you were talking about, allowing yourself to feel emotions. And I think in our Western society, a lot of times we're kind of told to just put your big girl pants on and keep it pushing, when in actuality, what all of us, regardless of, if you embody more of a masculine or feminine energy, all of us need to give space and grace to truly work out those energies. So whether that means physically crying, or I know some people that like to practice like just screaming if they're really angry, but letting that energy out of your body so that it doesn't just sit within. And that's all part of harmonizing those dualities.
And, I want to mention one thing, and it's all about your culture, also how you were raised. Some cultures, not all, some cultures or some families like, oh, we don't put our business out in the street. We don't we don't seek help. We don't seek, we don't seek therapy. African Americans don't seek therapy.
Yeah.
You talk to your pastor or something like that. Right. I mean, that's sometimes it's embedded in us.
It's something that's embedded in us, and we out of time.
Oh, no.
That's embedded. That's embedded in my producers that's gonna be looking at me funny. You know what? I tell you, Rachel, absolutely fantastic. You got an open invitation to the show.
Thank you.
You already know
so much.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Yeah, I gotta have you back again. I gotta thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. Most importantly, I got to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Always remember to dream big, think big, and be big at everything that you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.